Hello, gremlins. Can you guess the theme of this vlog? Can you? Do you have any ideas? Any thoughts? Any feelings? Opinions? Any guesses? I do normally have a dress that I wear with this, but it is cold. I wanted sleeves, and I've had this green jacket for forever, so we're doing a colder weather version of, if you haven't already guessed it, Louise Belcher, because I am doing a Bob's Burgers reading vlog. Yes, you heard that right. A Bob's Burgers reading vlog. I have been prepping this video for months to figure out what I was going to do. So, what I have compiled are 4 books, because there are 4 Belchers who read. Sorry, I did not mean to cough. I have asthma. I may cough periodically because the weather is cold. But there are 4 Belchers who specifically have read on the show. Now, you can probably guess the 5th Belcher who does not read, but we'll get to that when I get to that particular Belcher. So I will be reading in reverse age order for this vlog. So I'm starting with Louise, and then I will be doing Jean, Tina, Linda, and ending with Bob. Throughout this vlog, I will be watching Bob's Burgers. I will also be making a burger. I verified with Krista, my lovely wife, which burger she would like me to make, because I have followed 2 different Bob's Burgers recipes before, made some of my own personal tweaks, and we're going with her favorite of the 2. So that will be the burger. You'll see that at some point. I'm not sure if I'm making it tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to see what she wants to do. But to start this vlog, we will be reading Old Yeller by Fred Gibson, which is not a book I ever thought I would read. But Louise reads this in, and I wrote this down, she reads it in the Silence of the Louise, which is season 8, episode 2. And in this episode, if you don't already know, there is a reading challenge at the school, which Jean conceivably read for, and so did Tina, but they don't mention books that they've read, only the book that Louise and ultimately Millie read for this challenge. So they read their books, and Louise chooses Old Yeller. And then they're supposed to hit a certain number of books as a school, and then they'll get to go to Ready, Set, Go, this water park that consistently closes down. But something happens to Mr. Fran's therapy dolls, and the trip is called off. But Louise, using Millie as her associate, is going to try and solve the mystery of what happened with the dolls and get this trip back on. So I'll be reading Old Yeller, and if you noticed a recipe card sticking out of here, Krista gifted me the recipe? Yes, the recipe box. I have the other recipe box as well, and I have the cookbook, but I thought I would grab recipe cards for each of the books to use as a bookmark. So I picked them based on who was on the card. So on this one, Louise is on the back, and the recipe is for the foot feta-ish burger / the never been feta burger. And it's in season 1, episode 2, Crawl Space, and it's a burger topped with crumbled feta and creamy sauce with a little more crumbled feta in it. The arugula balances it all with snap and lemony zip. Tell your mom it's called Never Been Feta. Tell your edgy friends the real name. So I'll be using this as my bookmark. I am very sure I can finish this today. It is not very long. And I am an older person, so I should be able to knock this out pretty quickly. And I'm going to convince Krista that during this lunch break, we should watch the episode. So that's the plan. I will let you know that in the episode, Louise does spoil the ending, but this is a book about a dog written by a man in, what year? Hold on. 1956. So based on books I have read, written by men, about dogs from the pre-2000s, you can guess what happens to the dog. I'm just gonna assume you've guessed. But I will be reading this, and then I'll give you my thoughts on Old Yeller. But be ready for the episode first. I am very, very excited. I literally have been planning this for so long. I had to find books for Bob and Linda. That was the trickiest part. I will explain for the other Belcher children when I get to them. But first, let's focus on Louise and the very traumatic Old Yeller. So let's get to watching, and then let's get to reading. See you later, gremlins.
What's going on?
Louise is reading Old Yeller. I believe it's pronounced Old Yellow.
Why? I mean, I wish I wasn't asking why one of my kids is reading a book, but
Hello, gremlins. I am here because by the grace of God, I have finished Old Yeller, which actually tells you on the first page that Yeller doesn't make it. It literally says, and when I had to, like, it tells you what Travis is going to do to Old Yeller. So in this, we're following Travis, whose name doesn't appear until a little bit later in the book. His family is in the plains. I think the plains of Kansas. Or he's not. They're in like settler territory. Does it say on the back? Oh, they're on the wild Texas frontier, but the dad has gone to Kansas. So they're in Texas. They are basically on like a homestead. So think Little House on the Prairie. And his father has gone, so Travis is in charge, and Travis is 14. He's supposed to take care of his mother and his little brother Arliss, who is 5. During all of this, there's discussion of how they need a dog, but they don't have a dog. They had a dog who died. And then there's like a whole thing with like, we get a discussion of that dog. That's depressing as heck. Then Old Yeller appears, and he's named Old Yeller because of his color, because he's not exactly yellow. He's a dirty kind of yeller is the argument. And then he yells instead of barks is what Travis says. And also he is rough looking when he shows up. He says like his tail is docked to near nothing, and like one of his ears is basically chewed off. So he doesn't even exactly look like this picture then. I think he looks a bit rougher than that. But we are following the time of Old Yeller with Travis. And initially Travis hates Old Yeller and wants to get rid of him. But the only reason that Old Yeller gets to stay, this is doing like a goofy thing. There's a headband in here to keep the ears up. Sometimes it does goofy stuff. But the only reason they keep Old Yeller is because of Arliss. Little Arliss refuses to let the dog go. And then we do learn that Old Yeller had an owner at some point, and he was like a hog cattle dog. But he is allowed to stay here. He stays with the family for a long time. Now, if you don't know the ending of Old Yeller, I don't know how you don't know. Again, it's on the first page, because this is a tragic story in which hydrophobia, aka rabies, is everywhere. So, eventually, even Louise in the episode, which I may have said the wrong number, it's episode 2 of season 8, The Silence of Louise, she says on the very first, like in the episode while she's explaining it, I didn't include that in my clip, she actually says, Yeller has rabies. Oh god, like obviously they're gonna get a vet. They don't get a vet. Yeller does, he is protecting the family, and admittedly, I'm not quite sure how long Yeller had for this world, because prior to the end of the book, there is like an attack with some like boars and like a bunch of like hogs, where Travis and Yeller both get injured very badly, and it does seem like Yeller could die then, and then he doesn't, but he does wind up getting hydrophobia and has to be put down. That does occur, they tell you. And then there is, sorry, I'm like prepping, it's the end of the day, so I just like rebooted my computer, and so the screens change color. But he does get infected while protecting the family. Travis though is also injured. He though doesn't have hydrophobia, he just has a very bad injury. But this feels very, so it was written in the 50s, and this feels like the kind of book that really is supposed to like make everything from like the settler days very exciting, and like it feels like the kind of book they would bill as like boys adventure, like this is what you can do. Though the mom and a female character that's introduced are actually like very good at handling the settlement, so I appreciate that the women are also shown as able to take on difficult work, so they are also working just as hard, though the mother's work is a bit different than Travis's, because he's doing stuff the dad normally does, because the mom is also expected to take care of like Arliss, cook food, prep food, laundry, like all of this very important stuff. But when people get sick, she also has to then take on all of the work of the homestead and also take care of Travis and Yeller. So she's doing a lot. And the girl who's introduced also does a ton when she is asked to help them out. So yeah, I feel like this headband is making this do a weird thing, but it's fine. I'm about to take it off anyway because I gotta make dinner. But I did finish it. It's just, it's not like an upbeat book. It's not a book I ever would have read, even as a kid. This is not something I ever wanted to pick up. There's a lot of like animal death and animal abuse, because this is a different time. So we're like with them for hunting, we're with them while Yeller is protecting the crops from skunks. It's totally fine to beat the crap out of their mule. And yeah, just, it's not a book for me. Not a book I ever would have picked up. Not one I would have been interested in, but Louise read it, and thus I read it. So that one is done. We are now moving on to the Belcher who I don't have a book for. So first, I will present to you Egger's Campy Cheesers Burger from season 3, episode 11, Nude Beach. Hot, fast, and easy to make. Exactly the breakfast burger you were looking for. And I picked this one because all the Belcher kids were on the back, and they're with this like cool breakfast burger. This one does involve English muffins. There's like a whole thing about the burger. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but this is the card. I chose this one for Jean because, oddly enough, Jean is the only Belcher who didn't have a specific book of the Belcher kids. He doesn't have a book tied to him in any episode. I tried to do my research, could not find a book for him. So I pivoted and was like, you know what Jean likes? Jean likes movies. And one particular movie Jean likes is Die Hard because he writes an entire musical about it. So for Jean, Krista and I will be watching Die Hard, as well as Work Hard or Die Tryin' Girl season 5 episode 1, where Jean puts on his Die Hard musical while also a working girl musical is occurring. So that is the episode we're gonna watch, and then we are gonna watch Die Hard, and I'm making burgers for dinner. So we will be making a cranberry and brie burger. I will show you the process kind of. I also do not grill my burgers. I cook them in the oven. We have a particularly sensitive smoke alarm that really doesn't like when I make burgers on the grill, like in a skillet or anything. So I just put them in the oven. So that's my plan, but that's what I will be doing for the next Belcher kid. So Jean is our next up, and we'll be watching Die Hard. I'm very excited about this. This one I did debate a bit because Jean references a lot of movies. Jean likes a variety of things, but because he did the Die Hard musical, I thought that was a solid choice. So we're gonna do Die Hard and the episode beforehand. So we're gonna watch the episode while we eat dinner, and then we will watch the movie, and then we will move on to Tina. So be ready for a night of Jean Belcher controls what I watch, kind of. So I will see you in the kitchen when I am less Louisey.
All right, gremlins, I got burgers in the oven. You can kind of see them. They're not super cooked. They haven't been in for very long, though I do think I have to crank up the heat. Behold the stove. All right, watching Bob's, and I'm gonna talk to you, that was my hand, sorry, about the burger process. Although, first, behold my Bob's Pride shirt. I think this is from the second year they did shirts, but I love this shirt, and I was wearing it under my Louise shirt because I wanted to stay in theme for cooking. So I'm wearing my lovely Bob shirt that you can't really tell unless I stand on my tiptoes. And I thought I would channel my inner Linda, and I have wine in a cup. This is liquid therapy that made me laugh. So I am making burgers, and I didn't show you the process of making them because it's a little messy. So what I do is I just use like a tube of ground beef. I put that in a bowl. I add some cranberry sauce, which is going to be upside down because they can these upside down. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a reason, but you have to open them upside down, and I can't flip this over. This is whole cranberry sauce in a can. I have done it with fresh cranberry sauce, but this is just way easier. So I put that in the meat and salt and pepper, and I mix that all up. And then I add cubes of brie. So I like cut up the brie and put it in the burger. A couple of those had brie on top because I had a couple pieces left over. So I do that, and then I make patties. So I like stuff about like 2 to 3 pieces depending on size in the burgers. And then I just cook them in the oven. I already told you I was using the oven instead of the like stovetop or anything. So I do that, and then I just put them on a regular hamburger bun, and I add a little extra cranberry sauce. Sometimes I make cranberry mayo, but today I'm just gonna add cranberry sauce to the buns to add some extra cranberry. So we're just waiting for the burgers to cook. I do think I maybe have the oven too low. I couldn't remember. I haven't made burgers in a little while, and I could not remember what temp I normally use. So I think I'm gonna move them down and also crank the oven up a little. So I think that's what I'm gonna need to do, or at least move them down and add time. I think that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna keep watching Bob's. I just did a bunch of dishes, and then we're gonna watch Work Hard or Die Tryin' Girl and Die Hard. So that's the plan. I'm gonna sip some of my wine. I do think I need to move these down. That's what I'm gonna do. And then I'm just gonna keep an eye on them for the rest of the evening until we eat them. And then I'll show you the burgers when they're done and plated and stuff upstairs. We're eating in the bedroom. So that's what I'm gonna do. But I gotta go because I gotta move these burgers and take a sip of this wine. Lovely. It's Witch's Brew wine. It's one of my favorites, and Krista got me some in a wine sale. It was like the last bottles they had left. So
Gotta move these burgers because I need to cook. So I will see you when the burgers are done, gremlins.
Talking about
Die Hard the musical!
you've been working on that one for a while.
Yeah, ever since I saw Die Hard and said, why is no one singing?
Hello, gremlins. It is after 10 o'clock, but we have watched the cinematic classic, Die Hard. So, for those who don't know, Die Hard follows John McClane as he goes to his wife's Christmas party and then winds up having to save the day because the Nakatomi Plaza has been taken over by Hans Gruber and his assorted folks to steal a bunch of bonds, which I'm pretty sure we don't use anymore. Who knows? If we do, I've never had one. But we just finished watching Die Hard. And since it's pretty late, we are actually going to watch... Oh my gosh. Binks!
Stop him! Squish him!
Binks ran in, even though it's late, and he knows he's not supposed to be in the bedroom. The reason that cats can't be in the bedroom is they literally wake us up in the middle of the night, primarily by hitting me in the face. Krista's got him. I know he's sleeping. But we're gonna watch season 5, episode 14, Little Hard Dad. Oh my god, Bane also rated? I'm so sorry. I did not flip the camera. We're gonna watch season 5, episode 14, Little Hard Dad, in which Tina realizes she forgot to read. It's over here. Sorry. Call of the Wild for a school assignment. And I will be reading Call of the Wild, unlike Tina. Though I did choose this for Tina's book because Tina is supposed to read this book, and I feel like out of guilt, Tina eventually would have read Call of the Wild. But just know, she doesn't actually read it in this episode. Louise and Linda attempt to help her still make a book report. Sort of. But yeah, so we're gonna watch that and then go to bed. And then, don't worry, tomorrow I will have a fun outfit. Oh, but I already have my bookmark in here for your Kimchi the Best burger from season 6, episode 17, The Horse Riderer. Kimchi is a tangy and spicy Korean staple. Kimchi spread might become a new favorite spread. Tangy, spicy, but spreadable. Like love. And then this is the recipe. And the reason I picked this card is because Jericho, Tina's imaginary horse, is on the back. So that's what I'll be using as a bookmark. And we're going to watch this episode and go to bed. So you'll get a tiny clip of Little Hard Dad while they're working on Tina's book report. And then tomorrow I'll be wearing an actual Tina themed outfit for my day. My hair's doing wild things. But yes, so be ready for the episode and then we're going to bed. So enjoy the episode clip, gremlins, and then I'll see you in the morning.
Gotta read, gotta read, gotta read, gotta read.
Wow, I feel the exact opposite thing.
Why are you saying that?
Book report. I wrote the due date on my arm so I would remember, and then every day since then I've taken a shower like an idiot.
When's it due?
Tomorrow.
Ah!
What page are you on?
The cover.
Ooh, ah! Call of the Wild.
Hello, gremlins. I'm gonna try and fix my hair. It's doing a thing. So I'm wearing glasses and a Tina shirt. These are just blue light glasses, but I felt like I should wear them because I'm wearing a Tina thing. Tina. And I am also done with Call of the Wild. It is the end of my workday, so I'm just doing this update now. But yeah, this, not my favorite book. So Call of the Wild follows Buck, which is mentioned in the episode. We're following Buck. We're following Buck from when he is kidnapped from his home and deposited in the, is it the Arctic? Specifically, yeah, the Canadian wilderness. And in the frozen Alaskan, he winds up in the Klondike region because it's like gold mining kind of stuff. This is just, none of these are exciting. Like, okay, positive, the dog doesn't die. Well, Buck doesn't die. A number of dogs die in this. Also, a number of people die in this. This is not a positive, like, I guess the idea technically is that we're following Buck as he like becomes a stronger dog and no longer needs man's approval eventually because he follows the Call of the Wild. But like, this is depressing as hell. Like the whole book, I was just like, the heck, why do we make children read these? Why are we making children read dogs? Like books about dogs that are depressing as all get out. Like he is taken from his home. He has the crap beat out of him consistently. He's then forced to be a sled dog. Then the more time he spends out being a sled dog, he does become more of an alpha kind of dog, but then that results in him attacking other dogs attack him, like constant danger, constant like dogs attacking dogs kind of thing. And I'm just like, why? And like that's the recap. That's just the recap for you. Buck slowly becomes more and more wolf-like in his behavior and follows the call of the wild. And there you go. Like, Tina's report does actually make sense, where she just like freaks out and breaks stuff. That basically, that is correct. It does embody the themes of this book, because basically Buck goes wild. Doesn't hurt anyone. Well, that's a lie. He does actually hurt a lot. He doesn't hurt people he cares about. Also, Kristen and I watched the Harrison Ford movie that came out a while ago of Call of the Wild. And I swear that adaptation does not get into like all of the nitty gritty. This is depressing. And I feel like they just make Buck seem like a very sweet dog. Sorry, asthma. But like throughout this, Buck is kind to those he cares about, but is also becoming a more aggressive dog the more time he spends having to be a sled dog. And then ultimately one of the dogs that belongs to, what is his name? Hold on. It's listed. John Thornton. He does grow to love John Thornton, who is not introduced to us until the very end of the book. And I swear in the movie Harrison Ford is in more of it. He like is with not great people for a long time, even though a number of people were like, oh, Buck's incredible, Buck's incredible. I don't understand why we assign these books. I don't get it. If you're going to make me read something depressing, I feel like, because this is assigned to children, I would say give them something that, while depressing, also educates them on society. Like, all I can think of is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, which I do think is probably kind of sad. It's been a long time since I read that though. Again, very long time. I think I read it in 6th grade, so I don't quite remember. Maybe 8th. But like, give a book that talks about like themes in society as opposed to dogs being destroyed during the gold rush. Like, what? But I finished it. I read it. I don't think Tina missed out by not reading this book, because it's sad. And then, I mean, again, Buck doesn't die, so be glad the dog lives, unlike Old Yeller. I'm just telling you that because, you know, I thought he didn't make it, and he does. But we are done with the Belcher children books. So we have finished Old Yeller, Call of the Wild, and we watched Die Hard, which again is a little bit of a cheat, but Gene is not a reader. He's just not. So that fit the best. We are now moving on to Linda and Bob. So Linda is next because I believe Linda is slightly younger than Bob. They're like about the same age, but we're going with Linda and then Bob to finish. So for Linda's book, we are reading The Merlot Murders, a Wine Country Mystery by Ellen Crosby. And the reason I picked this one is Season 10, Episode 5, Legends of the Mall. Are you in focus? I feel like it's not focusing on me because I have glasses. It's focusing on the people behind me. Turn. Hi. It's a poster. I don't know if I was blurry that whole time or not. But in Legends of the Mall, Linda basically crashes a book reading. It's like a regular book reading, but she goes to a book reading at the bookstore in the mall, and it's for a vineyard-based murder mystery book by, I cannot remember the author's name, but we're gonna watch the episode, so I will remember after. And I remembered that it was wine-based. It involved winery and like a cask of wine. So I specifically looked for wine-based murders, and this one came up in my library system. So this one we're reading. It has a very intense description. I will tell you, we're following Lucy Montgomery. And it's set in Virginia, which is where she's from, but she has not lived there. And she is there because of a terrible accident. And there was another terrible accident prior to her leaving. So that's all I'm going to tell you. I also have Don't You For Cheddar About Me as the recipe, as Linda on the back, which is why I picked it. And it is a double cheeseburger with 4 kinds of cheddar, simplicity and maximalism combined. An aesthetic we call Simplicimax. If tomorrow you have macaroni and cheese with 4 kinds of macaroni, you're living a Simplicimax life. This one does sound good. It is primarily just cheese and meat. There's some onion and bacon and then some jalapenos. Goose wants to play with her. You can kind of tell that in the image. All the cats are on the bed. But that is my update for you. And I am slowly... Hello. I'm filming in such a weird spot. I was playing very fast and loose with my SD card and I ran out of room. So I'm just here to tell you, I will slowly be reading the Merlot murders and I will fill you in when I've read any of it. But I just wanted to include that because I don't know when I got cut off. So I will talk to you at some point later, Gremlins, when I have read some of the book.
This book's a set in the world of fine wine. Remember that one I was reading? That Cabernet for Cutie?
Oh, right, that one book you read. You carried it everywhere and made a big deal about it.
I'm going in.
What? No, Lynn, you're helping me buy pen. Oh, right, books. People like to read those before bed. Pepper, a spicy history. Okay, all right. Oh, this is nice.
Good morning, Gremlins. I have my Bob's coffee cup. It does have everyone on it. I just have it turned to the character I'm currently reading for, Linda. I'm also wearing this sweater that I got for Krista, I think a couple of Christmases ago, and it's a Bob's Christmas sweater, so I'm wearing it because I need another Bob's outfit. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee and then I will proceed. So I know you got back-to-back clips, so I decided to show the Linda book clip from Legend of the Mall, which is season 10 episode 5, and then Ancient Misbehavin', which was season 12 episode 15. I don't know where they're barking. They're doing construction and like it's chaos. Like there are trucks driving by all the time, there are people wandering around, and like they've been like this all week because it's construction everywhere, and Bruni is the worst because he won't stop. Like I'm hoping they calm themselves down. No. Okay, we're gonna plow through. And then Ancient Misbehavin', which is where Bob reads the book about Pepper. Please note, I'm not reading a nonfiction book about Pepper. I really don't want to. I was like, I could read a nonfiction book. I don't want to. So Bob has a fiction book I picked out, and I will explain the reasoning for Bob's when I get to Bob. But I thought, since he looked at a nonfiction book in general, I would go over all of the Bob's cook things I have. So you've already seen this one. This is the recipe box. This is the one I'm using as bookmarks right now. There are a bunch of things in there. There's some sauces, there's some food and burgers. Then I got this one as a Christmas gift last year, I think. And on this one, it's shown as the burger of the day. Kind of like there's a big burger of the day card, and then it's set up like the other recipe cards, but they're way bigger. And I got these. Let me pull one out because I think the one I normally make is in here. Maybe not. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it. Let me just grab at random. Oh, that's a cute looking one. Okay. This is like this, and then there's a picture of the burger on the back, and that was a gift from my parents. I actually think they found it at like a Goodwill. Like I think this was like they find a lot of stuff at Goodwill, so I think that's where that one is from. And then when this came out, Krista got this for me. So this is the actual cookbook, and I've used this one a few times, like to go through. I've had her look at it. I've made Bet It All on black garlic. This one I've specifically made before. I even sell some black garlic in our fridge. Is this your chard? I always feel like I can never find the one that I make. Nope, because I like don't follow the actual recipe. Let's see. No, a lot of these you have seen though. I wish I could find it. No. I was trying to do a skim to see if I could find the one that I normally make, because it's like a Valentine's burger. There's so many in here. Is it 98? I don't even think that's it, because kind of. So this is sort of the one I make, where it's brie. I just use part of the instructions and then I sub in cranberry sauce. But I think there's another one with brie in it, but I just don't remember. But this is the big cookbook. So I have all of these. And so the recipe cards, I believe, they have the same burgers. So some of them there's different ones in there from what I can tell, but they're just laid out differently and there's like different pictures and stuff. So there are some different ones. But those are all of those. I have not read enough of the Merlot murders to really tell you very much, so I'm gonna try and read some more before work. I have a little time, then I'm gonna try and read at lunch and knock out a hunk of this. Tonight is Thursday Night Football, so I should have time to read. Also, I feel like my nose looks very red. I was super cold earlier, but I'll be reading more of this and then hopefully moving on to Bob's book today. So that is the plan. I also need to I have most of the thumbnail photos and I need to get like one more. I'm gonna take one in the sweater, and then on my desk I have Kuchikopi. Evil Kuchikopi, fun fact, one year Krista and I literally bought the same thing. I bought her jumbo Coochie Kobe, like evil Coochie Kobe, and she bought me this one. We did it in the same year. We had no idea. And then I have another prop down there. Maybe I'll just grab him. Yeah, I'll just grab him. Krista got me the Wheelie Mammoth. I'm sorry if you hear my stomach growling. I don't feel particularly hungry, but my stomach is going nuts. But we have the Wheelie Mammoth. Krista surprised me with this in like June of last year. I don't know, but he's very cute and he's very squishy. And I also kind of want to have him in a thumbnail photo. But yeah, so that's my update for now. We watched those episodes last night. We also watched Working Girl because Krista loves Harrison Ford and he's in that. So we had talked about watching it after Die Hard, but it was too late. So we watched Working Girl instead. So we watched Working Girl and then we watched 2 episodes of Bob's. So it was a very fun night. But I'm gonna drink my coffee, get my stuff situated, and try and get that thumbnail, and also read. I might be able to make it work, or I'm just gonna read at lunch. We'll see. We will see. But yeah, so those are my updates for you. This is a very nice sweater. It's pretty thin. It's not a super thick sweater, so that's fine. But yeah, I think that is all my updates for you. I'll have Bob's on during the day, like while I'm working, just for the fun of it, because I love having Bob's on. So I'll be watching random Bob's episodes. You won't see those unless one completely strikes my fancy and I think you need to see a clip, but probably not. But yeah, so I gotta go. I will talk to you when I have an update on the Merlot murders, Gremlins. Hi Gremlins, I keep forgetting to show you the burger. This is the burger that I made. We had a bunch of leftovers. We're having them for lunch, but I completely forgot to show you. There's some brie coming out of it. It's a mess because the cranberry sauce kept falling off. But that is the cranberry brie burger that I made, and I made extras, so we're just like slowly eating leftovers for lunch. But this is the burger. Totally forgot to show it to you. All right, I'll be back with a book update at some point. Hello Gremlins. It is after work, and I've made it roughly halfway through the Merlot murders, and we did find out why this is the title. So I'm going to give you a brief recap of everything so far without spoiling anything, because none of this is really spoilers because you have to know stuff is happening. So to begin with, we are following, and I'm gonna grab everyone's name because they all have like nicknames and stuff. So I did tell you names. So Lucy had gone back to Virginia because of the death of, it turns out it's her father. She and her brother and her sister never called their father Dad. He preferred them to just call him Leland. So their dad, Leland, died. It's believed that it was an accident. He was shooting crows, but there is a rumor that perhaps he did it himself, like intentionally, or that someone took care of him. So we come into the story with that, with this like possible murder that has occurred in the vineyard. Then a little farther in, we begin learning that, I'm gonna guess a lot of this. Yeah, so we learn that Eli has like, her brother has like a fancy new car. His wife is pregnant. He's building a super fancy house, but he's now very adamant they need to sell the entire vineyard for the cash. He's like, we're strapped. There's no money. Dad spent it all. We need to sell the freaking vineyard. And Lucy's like, no, I've been gone for 2 years, but also like, no, we're not selling the vineyard. What are you talking about? It's our vineyard. She doesn't want to sell at all, but like strange things have gone on. Their normal vintner is gone. He apparently had a stroke. Her godfather, Fitz, is supposed to be like running things for the time being because he's like the designated person. But he seems to be getting forgetful. Her brother Eli is insisting he's drinking a lot. And so he's like, he's just drunk, like he's doing a terrible job. All of this stuff about like, he's drunk, it's an issue. We just need to sell and be done. Now Lucy was living in a house that belonged to her mother's family in France, and the mom did come for money, it sounds like, and then like the land was family land that the vineyard is on, and also the house in France, and then the father was just making very bad business deals outside of the vineyard, and that resulted in them losing like a hunk of their money. And so Eli is insisting that the dad is the reason that they need to sell, like they just don't have the money. We've also met a number of people. There are a lot of people in this town. We have met friends of her father's. We've met the new person in charge of the vineyard whose name is Quinn. There wasn't the guy who had a stroke was like the vintner, and so Quinn is now the vintner, and he also is like, are you selling? Because if you're selling, like I would like to be able to make an offer kind of deal. A number of people just keep being like, if you're selling, I want to make an offer. And like Lucy keeps being like, we're not selling, we're not selling, we're not selling. And based on how the will broke down, she gets 2 votes. So she's like, we're not selling. I refuse to sell. And Eli keeps being like, we need to sell. The youngest sister is not as invested in this. The brother had convinced her to sell, but she's kind of taken care of, so the sale doesn't, like, she would get some money, but I don't know that it really matters. It also, the winery is cash strapped. Like, the vineyard is having issues. They barely apparently have any money in the bank. They're late on payments. And then we learn, so Lucy is presented as having this guy who's living with her in France who is shady as hell. And she's like, oh, I'll leave him a note when she leaves. And then she calls her bank in France and is asking to have money transferred over because she has a settlement from a car accident. So the primary thing with Lucy that keeps coming up is that she was in a car accident with a guy named Greg, who she was dating. And he was fine, but she did not walk away from the car accident unscathed. She now walks with a cane, and there is something, she says her leg is like twisted. So she has like a limp, and it seems like even though she had surgery that her left leg did not heal completely straight or completely correctly. And so she walks with a limp, but can still like function. And she does say like, it is a disability, like she can't walk without her cane. So she does have that is brought up, and like that comes up, and we do learn she was living with this guy while she was like doing all of her like rehab and hydrotherapy. She like swam a lot to try and build strength back up. So she left this guy a note, comes to America, and then when she calls her bank, sorry, that was just like an aside for you, they're like, oh, sorry, all of that money that you had in this French bank, Philippe, that man of yours, he showed up and he had a thing with your signature and basically said like, let us close all the accounts, give me cash. And I'm like, what kind of shady bank is this? He didn't have to have ID, he just had to have a signed piece of paper. And then she was like, oh, if it was Philippe, then yes, it probably was my signature. And I'm like, do they just not know your real signature? Why would you let him take, is he on the account? Like, he's not on the account then. Like, I was like, what? And like, we learn like he has a ton of gambling debts, and I'm like, ma'am, when you left France, I know it was in a rush, why didn't you call your bank and be like, hey, don't let that scoundrel Philippe take my like thousands of dollars? The bank was just like, oh, he said it's fine. And I was like, because we're supposed to like put Lucy in a situation where she needs money more than she did before, so like she has to make some executive decisions about things in the house. And I was like, I don't understand what kind of shady bank does that. Like, I had to get my wife added to an account because they would not even let her like make a car payment because she was like, I don't understand this French bank that's like, whatever. I was like, banking is normally a bit stricter than that. Like, you have to have things like cards and stuff. So I was like, whatever. And like, I don't know what year this is set in. It doesn't actually say. And there have been no mentions of smartphones. So maybe this is supposed to be set in like the 90s or something. I don't know. There's no date in here. There's no date. When was this published? Maybe that'll help. 2006. It's still a smartphone into. I feel like this is set in like the late 90s, early 2000s. It does say 2006 because like her brother has like a sat watch, like a fancy watch, but no one has like a smartphone. No one's really mentioning a cell. Like, I guess she had a cell phone, but it's like a flip phone, which makes me think this is more late 90s than 2006, because in 2006 I had friends who had like fancy phones. I didn't, but I know some people did. I don't know. It's also, these people are, they're not that older though. I don't know. I guess maybe it could be set in 2006 and I'm overthinking it. Because she does have a phone. I think she has a flip phone. Anyway, but like no one else seems to have a phone. Maybe. I'm not getting into that. I feel like that's weird for a bank. But yeah, so she's trying to figure out what is going on. And now the second event is Fitz died. He was found in this like thing. I don't know what to call it. They tell you what it is, but I've read past that point now. It's something that fills with carbon dioxide for the wine making process, and he was in it, and so he's dead. And so like they think he was actually killed, but they think he stopped a robbery in progress because a bunch of money is missing. And I was like, what? So like that's a possibility, but also our main character has just decided someone else was with her father the night or the day or the whenever, it was the day that he died. And I was like, okay. But they already told you the scene was really contaminated. So like a number of people were there, but that's fine. So yeah, so we're halfway through and we have 0 leads. Just like a million suspects because seemingly everyone wants to have this vineyard. Which is bizarre. I will say the book itself is fine. I feel a bit hit over the head with too many details. So we're getting like these elaborate descriptions of every like building, the vineyard itself, which is fine, but it just feels to be like bogging down the mystery when we have no clues at all and we're like halfway through. So I'm like, I don't know that I need all of this description of the land and the house and the things in the house and all of that when like the mystery isn't really getting solved. The other thing that is bothering me a bit is there's this very intense focus on like the Confederacy and the Civil War and Thomas Jefferson and like like they just keep blending the history of the area like into the story a bunch with like people heavy-handedly dropping like a Thomas Jefferson quote or like a possible Civil War artifact being found, and then we just get all of this like the people of the land, and I'm like, I don't really care. And I'm like, I also really don't want to spend time hearing you like discuss the wonders of the Confederate Army. Like I was just like, I don't want this personally. And like, fine, we can talk about the founding fathers and how Virginia is important to apparently winemaking in America, but like also it just keeps coming up and I'm like, I'm good. I get your mom was obsessed with Mr. Jefferson over there, but I'm not. So if we could just get to the plot, that would be great. So some of it just feels like unnecessary. Like it would make sense to me if they were doing some kind of like, so if you watch Vampire Diaries, they do this like day where they show like Gone with the Wind and they like dress in period costumes and do all of that. That would make more sense to me than what's going like in how things are presented, because they're having a festival technically at the vineyard that was pre-planned, but it's Elizabethan themed and they're doing like a Midsummer Night's Dream. And I was like, why have we added Shakespeare when your mother loved Shakespeare? That's great. But like you keep talking about how this is like land that belonged to a very important man back in the day. Like, why aren't we doing something that's like, I guess like, I was gonna say antebellum, but that doesn't feel correct. Themed. Like, if you're gonna like go for a theme, why aren't we doing that? So it's just weird to me that I was like, Shakespeare, Civil War, the Founding Fathers. I'm like, what? So it's fine. It's not really my glass of wine, I guess. Oh, the reason it's Merlot murder is Fitz is found potentially in the Merlot vat, or like whatever it's called. But yeah, so it's fine. I kind of just want to, at this point, finish it to know who did it, because presumably the same person is involved in both Fitz and Leland, her dad, like their deaths. But I'm just like, okay. So when I finish it, I'll let you know what I think. So far it's just fine. Because it like feels like it wants to be a historical murder mystery, because it's not a cozy mystery. It's not. But it's also just like, I feel like it's not cozy. It's not like thrillery enough for me to feel like mystery, like solid literary mystery. So like it feels like it's in between the two, and I would rather it commit to one or the other. But I don't know. We'll see how I feel when I finish it. The writing is fine. Oh, my battery needs charge. So like, there's nothing wrong with the writing. I'm just not as like committed to the characters. I'm actually not really, I think a lot of the characters are annoying. So we'll see. But I need to charge my battery, and I need to take out the dogs. But I want to do this update. It's much longer than I anticipated. So I'll talk to you when I finish this Gremlins, and hopefully I move on to the Bob book. So talk to you later tonight. Hi Gremlins. I'm updating you from a very awkward spot in my living room. Does this work? This kind of works. It's at least in focus. So the girl cats are asleep on my side of the bed. So I am here because I finished the Merlot murders. I will say, I do think this is the author's first mystery, and the pacing of this is just not what I would like. The ending is very rushed, and then at the end, the story literally just ends. Like, it's just done. And I was like, where's the tie-up? Where do we find out if you saved the vineyard? Like, where is all that. There's none of that. It literally just ends. Like, the villains are dealt with, but it just ends. Like, just completely boom, bang, done. Like, I was like, she hasn't seen a doctor, like, a bunch of stuff has happened. The pacing is very odd, and there is literally only, like, one clue. So there's not really a way for you to guess who did this. I was like, okay. Because she's like, I know who did it. And, like, in some cozy mysteries, you can't tell. I'm gonna put this down. So, like, did I knock that on the... I feel like I dropped something. So, like, sometimes in cozy mysteries, you can't tell. So I was like, okay, they're just kind of like... that's fine. But like this, you could not. There were too many characters to follow to like know what was going on. And then like they drop a revelation about a character. And then I was like, but we didn't get into like that being brought up. And again, this is a series, so there are more books, but I don't really have any interest in reading them, sadly. I feel a little bit like Linda, where she's like, oh, I solved it in a chapter. I would not have solved this in a chapter. And also, I don't know that I cared. It felt like a lot of buildup and a lot of explanation for a very fast book is done moment. And I would have liked to see like a tie-up where we know like if the vineyard is good, even like an epilogue set a couple months later just to tell us how things went, but doesn't exist. Oh, I'm out of focus again. So yeah, that's that. I do think I dropped a recipe card on the floor. I think it's on the floor. Sorry, I'm just leaning into you now. Oh no, I found it. Okay. So the next book that I will be reading, I'm going to show you the recipe card because it's not going to fit in the book actually. It's The Garden of Eaton Burger, which is from season 5, episode 10, Late Afternoon in the Garden of Bob and Louise. Apple pie without cheese is like a kiss without a squeeze. That's in the Bible. Maybe. Don't quote us on that. But either way, this burger finds its way to the forbidden fruit. Apple pie filling, and then to cheddar cheese, and then finally to your mouth. I would probably really like this. You basically make cinnamon apples. You use cheese and you put it on a burger. There's no picture of it. It's just a picture of Bob and his little, like, and an apple. Yeah, they made it an apple. So you can, like, see it. But the book I'm reading for Bob is a bit of a stretch. So I'm reading The Diva Runs Out of Time by Krista Davis. This is a cozy mystery set, I believe, around Thanksgiving, Christmas time. And it follows Natasha. And Natasha makes like gourmet food. So I picked this one because it has recipes in it. The author's name is Krista, and my wife Krista is the most like Bob. Like if we were going to be Bob's character, she's Bob and I'm Linda. And so I saw that it was Krista and I thought that was very fun. And I feel like Linda would convince Bob to read a cozy mystery and be like, oh, it has recipes. It's about food. You would love it. So I feel like this is a book Linda would pick up for Bob. I don't know why I held it like that. Like she would get this for Bob. Like she would want Bob to read it. And there is a mention of Linda wanting to do a book club, but with magazines. But I feel like she would attempt to do a book club with like an easy book. And this like kind of feels like something she would pick up because she likes the vineyard mysteries. And I just feel like this would be something like Bob would wind up with. So I'm going to be using a little raccoon bookmark instead of the recipe because the king. Little King Trash Mouth. But yeah, so I'll be reading this tonight during football. Krista is not home yet. I'm so sorry about this angle and the focus. Oh, it's even worse. There, it's the light behind me, and if I turn that light off, I'm in complete darkness. So can I like lean? That's a little better. Okay, I'm gonna head back downstairs with the pups. I'll get you out of this atrocious lighting. And I might read a little bit more. I need to eat soon. Krista has someone like with her for night court tonight, so I think they're eating together. I don't know. She hasn't texted me yet, so I'll see if she has now. But I'm gonna go. Sorry, you're basically looking into the sun to see me. It's literally just the light behind me, and I don't really have an option because I didn't want to move the cats, and I sat where I could. So I'm gonna go. The Merlot murders, I have read better. I'm very sorry. Maybe it picks up, but I'm just not motivated enough to read anymore. But yeah, we're gonna try The Diva Runs Out of Time, and I'll let you know my thoughts. I'll give you a recappy thing. If I read it during the entire football game, I'll just tell you all thoughts at once. Cozy mysteries are tricky for me because I feel like I read them really fast and then I'm like, oh, and I'm done. So we'll see how that goes. We may be ending the vlog today, which is wild, but I also did not think this vlog was going to take very long, so I would not be surprised. All right, I gotta go. I'm just awkwardly holding my hand so the light is not super blinding. But yeah, I will talk to you sometime during football, gremlins. Bye for now. Hello, gremlins. I put this hat on without a mirror, so it's a little silly. It's farther back than I would normally have it. Oh, there we go. Now it's better. I am here because I have finished. I'm gonna show you this first. The Bob book. I love Bob holding the little burger. But I finished. Sorry, this is such a chaotic angle. The Diva Runs Out of Time, and this was so fun. So I was wrong. We're actually following Sophie Winston, who has recently divorced. She and her husband Mars have divorced, but Mars is dating Natasha Smith, her like rival slash frenemy from childhood, and the two of them both have very similar like desires in life. Natasha is basically like, think fake Martha Stewart, or they said Southern, so I guess maybe like like, oh, that wouldn't be right. I feel like more Martha Stewart. Her style is very Martha Stewart-y when she's talking. So like her friend is very Martha Stewart, and then, well, she's not really her frenemy. Natasha is like Martha Stewart, but for the South, and like local area celebrity. And then Sophie is more, I don't know, home decor people. Maybe the Pioneer Woman, kind of. I've been watching this old holiday cookie championship, or like Christmas cookie championship, and redrubbed is one of those, so I can only think of the Pioneer Woman and Martha Stewart. So I apologize for my lack of television host person comparisons. But Sophie has the house, so she absolutely adored the house that belonged to Mars's aunt and was like willed to them, and he let her buy him out so she could keep the house. So she lives there and she's hosting Thanksgiving. So her parents are there, her sister's fiance, and then kind of everyone starts showing up at Sophie's house because something happens at Natasha and Mars's house. And that's all going on top of the fact that there is a stuffing competition that Natasha and Sophie are in, and there are 2 dead bodies. So there's like a whole bunch of chaos because Sophie goes to the store to get her supplies for Thanksgiving and for her stuffing competition, and this man comes up to her and tries to give her a cat, and she's like, no, thank you, it's a very adorable kitten, but like I don't know that I can take on a kitten at this time. And she has a dog who she splits custody with her husband, or her ex-husband. They share the dog. So she's like, I really can't. Like, I have a dog who lives with me off and on. I really can't. I'm so sorry. But then she has a change of heart because she's very worried about this adorable little kitten. So she goes to see if she can find the man to get the kitten. And then she finds the man dead in a dumpster. And she saves the kitten, but then she's obviously suspect number 1 because they're like, it's weird that you found him. And so this detective named Wolf is now like very involved in her life because that happens. And then at the stuffing competition, one of the hosts dies, and the host was like flirting with her, and she's like, I don't know why he was flirting with me. I don't even know that guy. And he was like flirting with her, apparently, possibly to, it's just weird because Natasha was also in like talks with him. Like Natasha knew the host, and it's like a whole thing. It's a whole wild thing where like things are happening at the stuffing competition. A man dies. They think the 2 deaths are connected, but then Sophie is still a suspect because she's at both events. Both men are dead, and she's like, I don't even know. I had nothing to do with this. I'm just trying to host Thanksgiving, damn it. And then all these people are showing up at her house. Her ex-mother-in-law, who she's very close friends with, shows up at her house. People are showing up all over the place. Like her entire extended now ex-family is just showing up to stay at her house. A friend that was like a mutual friend of her and her ex-husband is now staying at her house. At a certain point, there's a man named the Colonel introduced, and he and his dog are hanging out, and there's like an older woman romance plot happening. It's just so chaotic and so fun. It was so silly. I loved this. I read this so fast. I also requested more from the library just because the 4th book in the series is Christmas, but the 2nd book is a wedding, and I don't know what the 3rd one was. So I requested them for my library, and my mom, I texted her because my mom is the reason I've ever read cozy mysteries. She read them a ton when I was a kid. I would read a ton of them that were hers. I would get some from the library. She would suggest them to me, and I was like, have you heard of Krista Davis? And she was like, oh, I have some of her books. I'll look and let you know what I have. She lives in Ohio, so she'd have to ship them to me, but she was like, oh, I'll look. So I may be getting some to read besides the ones I requested from my library, because my mom and I were never of, like, I did have some cozy mysteries that I would read consistently, and I would actually, like, get the new copies for, like, my birthday or Christmas, but, like, the ones from the library, I sometimes very chaotically just read out of order, because they'd be missing copies, or they'd have, like, book 1, book 17, book 40, and so you just, like, read whatever they had. But I am gonna try and read some of these in order. I'm gonna throw them in throughout the month of December, I think. Or I'll just toss them in when I feel like it, I don't know. But I did request them, and I don't think it'll take very long to get them. But I absolutely had the best time with the Bob book, which is a delight, because I love Bob, and I'm glad that the Bob book was a win, and resulted in me finding a cozy mystery series that I think I'm gonna check out for a little while. But yeah, so that's the end of the vlog. I'm not in a Bob shirt. I am wearing a very cool Beetlejuice shirt, which does work, because Louise went as Edward Scissorhands. And that is also a Tim Burton project, though this is for Beetlejuice the Musical, which is one of my favorite Beetlejuice things. I would say Beetlejuice animated, Beetlejuice the Musical, that is my ranking, and then all other Beetlejuice things are after that. But yeah, so that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this very odd TBR inspired by Bob's Burgers. Oh, Krista just blew her nose. But, oh, and last night I watched Bob's before I went to bed, because Krista had to go, she was working. So I watched the one where Linda goes a little cuckoo when she meets the writer of Snail and Newt, and so that was also fun. I almost did a clip, but I was like, I'm like reading and hanging out with the dog, so I didn't. But that one is also cute and book themed. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this Bob's Burgers reading vlog. What are you? Oh, hand sanitizer for us to take with us. Thank you. So yes, hope you like this. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you have other shows that you would like me to try TBRs from, let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you like this. Well, I'm also on Instagram, Cliff Go Ever After. I always forget what I'm supposed to say at the end of this every time somehow, even though I say the same thing every time. And yeah, I think that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one, Gremlins.